Planty people, it's Krista with Botanical Bird, and this week I want to talk about 10 different things you can do for your plants or that are planty related that don't involve buying new plants. If you're anything like me, sometimes you have that planty itch that you don't feel like you can scratch because money or because you're running out of space for plants. But there's so many things you can do that still involve plants, that still help take care of your plants, that don't involve actually buying more plants. So I'll go through 10 of them. They're in no particular order, but let's get started. So one thing you can do is build a pole. This is a wooden stake with burlap material over it. So it's not a moss pole. This is before I started making moss poles, but this is a good thing for epiphytes or plants that grow on other plants because it mimics their natural environment. In the jungle or in more tropical areas, epiphytes grow on trees and other plants that they can kind of scale up and reach more towards the sun. And so by making some sort of pole for them, it helps them grow up. Usually their leaves will get bigger as they get closer to the sun or closer to the light source, and they will develop aerial roots, which are roots that grow out of the stem to latch on to the pole. So you can make a wooden stake pole with burlap. Another thing you can do is make a moss pole. So here I have my Monstera Thai constellation, and since this was such a precious plant for me, I wanted to build a moss pole for it. And I used, I think his name's Craig Milran. He is either in Australia or New Zealand, and he has tutorials on his Instagram of how to make a moss pole. So I did this his style, and basically you need chicken wire, sphagnum moss. I used a bamboo stake in the middle for support, and then I also used zip ties to close the two edges. So basically you get a sheet of chicken wire and then sphagnum moss, and you moisten the sphagnum moss and kind of like stuff the sheet of chicken wire full of it. And then I stuck the bamboo stake in for support to keep it nice and rigid, and then use the zip ties to sew up the two ends. So if you see the edge with all the zip ties, it's here, and I always put that to the back because it's not as cute. And it's not a perfectly straight or perfectly shapen moss pole, but it gives the plant something to latch onto. And the benefit of sphagnum moss over the burlap is that when I water this, I moisten the moss pole, and it's a lot easier for the aerial roots to grow through this than it would be through the burlap. So this is probably a better example of a pole for a plant. A lot of my options have to do with pots. So here is just a pot that I got. It's actually a candle was in here, and so what I did is I drilled drainage holes in the bottom and then repotted the plant in here, and so it kind of spiced up the plant for me and it gave it a new home, and it was free because it was my boyfriend's candle that he had already used. So giving a plant a new home is an option. In that same light, just painting a pot that you already have. I bought a lot of terracotta pots for my plants because one, they're very well draining, and so most plants really like them. And then two, they're really affordable. And I liked that they could offer some uniformity for all of my plants so that the thing that could stand out was the different foliage. But then also just painting them white, I think gave me a fun DIY project to do without breaking the bank, and that was really quick. Just painting them white, I think, helps them all look very modern and fresh, and then it really helps the foliage stand out more. So just painting a pot that you already have is a great thing you can do without buying a new plant. Along those same lines, I have made some pot covers for my plants. I just got instructions from YouTube, I think, or just Google, and I can link them in the description below. But basically, I just got like thin white linen fabric, I think, and then burlap. And then I just measured the pot for what I needed, followed the instructions, cut the fabric to size, and sewed it. And it offers a very easy, cute way to cover up a grower's pot, also giving me a fun project to do. So making your own pot covers. Another example of that is I've knitted pot covers before with just yarn. These didn't come out as well in my opinion, but it was really fun and super quick and affordable. And so I had a lot of my pots sitting in these covers for a while, and I can pick any different color that I want. Next, just getting little things to decorate your pot. So I don't know if any of you guys have seen, I believe it's Spirited Away, the movie, or maybe it's Princess Mononoke. But it's an anime movie, and there are tree spirits in the forest that mean that it's healthy, and I think they help protect it. But my brother gave me this little tree spirit figurine, and so I just glued it onto my pot, which I think is really cute. And it was free, or you can go to the dollar store or thrifting and find little things to kind of just dress up your pots. I also have like a little Superman figurine, or when I was making a terrarium once, I got little like mushroom decorations that I put in that I thought were really cute, or like little ladybug stickers to put on. So just little things that add a little bit of pizzazz to your pots. Another simple thing you can do is make a pebble tray for any plant that needs high humidity. These take like 5 minutes or less. It just involves 2 drip trays, some pebbles, and water, and it keeps your plants really nice and happy. Another thing you can do is propagate plants, so then you can have more free plants. Sometimes I have plants that I propagate because I want more plants, and then I have plants that I want to propagate just to stay like this forever and look pretty. And I think this is one of them. This is a neon pothos, and I just really like how it looks in this cylindrical vessel. So I think I'm gonna keep it here forever. But it's fun. It takes very little time to just chop off different leaves, being careful of nodes, of course, if you want it to root out. So that's a fun thing. It's just a fun little project. You can have all different sized vessels that kind of attract the eye because of their differences, or you can keep them all uniform. It is your choice. Another thing you can do is make a macrame hanger, or just a yarn hanger for your pots or potted plants, so they can hang up on different things. I went through a period of time where I had a lot of hanging plants in my apartment because I had some really nice south-facing windows. And so my boyfriend and I put up a wooden dowel rod in front of the window and just hung a bunch of plants. And it was super easy. I just found instructions on Pinterest, but basically I just had some leftover macrame hanger, and I eventually just switched to using straight up yarn because I didn't want the hanger itself to be the focus. I have purchased some fancier hangers that were really pretty and had some nice designs, but for when I was making them, one, I had several plants that I wanted to hang, so I didn't want to take the time to make a really fancy macrame hanger for each one. And then two, when I'm plant styling, I think a lot about making the plant the focus, and I think that sometimes if I get a really awesome hanger, that kind of becomes the focus sometimes more than the plant itself. So when I made plant hangers, I kept them super simple. Sometimes they had kind of different sets of knots on the bottom just to kind of cradle the pot a little bit better. But then as I made more, I decreased the number of knots because I wanted it to look very clean and minimal and modern, and then just let the plant shine. Another way to support your plants while they're growing is building them a trellis. I built this trellis just a few minutes ago based on Becca de la Plante's video on how to make a trellis, and I will actually also link that in the description box below in case you want to use it. But this is just another way to support your plants. I used to just stick stakes in and then tie the stems to it like I've done on this trellis, but it looked a lot worse in my opinion because there was no uniformity to the stakes. They were just stuck wherever they needed to be. But at least with this trellis, you can see that there is a plan in mind. So if you guys have any other fun DIY ideas for any planty things that don't involve buying new plants, feel free to put them in the comments below. And please let me know in the comments below also if you want to know about any of these things I've mentioned today, but more in depth. I can make a completely separate video all about the process of any one of these things. And if you like this video, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's Botanical Bird, and bird has a U in it, not an I, and follow my Planty Instagram, which is at @botanical_bird. And remember, I'm rooting for you. Bye.